Number 10, lab-grown sirloin. Ever wanted to be a vegetarian or vegan but just can't resist the aroma of salty bacon in the air? If even that made your mouth water, then you know what I'm talking about. I'm the same way. For some people, either for personal, dietary, or situational reasons, going meatless isn't a viable option, despite the evidence pointing to the devastating environmental impact animal farms have, on top of the morality of eating the 3 little piggies. But guess what? Lab-grown meat is going to be a part of our future, and you will get to try it for the first time at some point very soon. Scientists have made remarkable developments in being able to grow functional human organs in the lab. Why not a hamburger? I know what you're thinking, lab grown doesn't sound that appetizing, but besides the obvious, cultured meat and animal meat are exactly the same, kind of. Rather than slaughtering and raising cattle in unkind conditions, cultured meat is grown from cell culture with no need from outside involvement. It uses 10 times less the amount of land, water, and less than half of the energy. Does it taste 10 times as good? We might not have to wait long to see. One of the leading companies in this field is called LF Farms and created their first cell-grown beefsteak in December 2018, so who knows, your turkey dinner might be funded by these guys.
Coming in at our number 9 spot, we have the Abydos hieroglyphics. In the temple of Seti I in Abydos, there are some strange and relatively modern looking hieroglyphics. The markings look to be what many have described as a submarine, helicopter, and a spaceship. But how could this be? These markings are from ancient Egypt. They are thousands of years old. Does this mean that the ancient Egyptians were also seeing UFOs in the sky? Or does this confirm the theory of time travel? Or even crazier, is this the proof that the members of the ancient civilization could see into the future? My god, what is happening? Well, to be honest, archaeologists and researchers don't believe the markings to be anything unusual at all. They believe it just to be a case of pareidolia, which in layman's terms means seeing things that aren't actually there. But I don't know, folks, there are some pretty crazy looking markings, and if these are indeed as old as researchers and archaeologists say they are pretty impressive and super similar to our modern day vehicles. Just saying, I don't know, I don't buy this whole pareidolia whatever, I don't buy it.
So number 8, Richard III. If you haven't seen a production of Richard III by William Shakespeare, well then this is a bonus, as that is also something you can see for the first time if you want to. But did you know that after years and years of searching, Richard III has been found, so you can actually visit his grave for the first time. The famous hunchbacked king was found in all places beneath a parking lot, beneath the tarmac. Why was he there? Well, Richard wasn't really given much ceremony when he died. Richard died at the Battle of Bosworth in 1485. His body was then slung over the back of a horse, carried to Leicester, put on display for 3 days so people knew he was dead, and then thrown in a makeshift grave at the Church of Grey Friars, which no longer exists. Once archaeologists exhumed and studied his body, he was placed in an actual grave surrounded by pomp and circumstance, along with some not so dry eyes in the audience, which is kind of surprising. But from his discovery, researchers were able to discover some very shocking things about him. For one, he didn't have a hunch, and 2, he had blonde hair and blue eyes looking nothing like his portraits. His portraits were painted 35 years after his death. But now, 500 years later, we finally know the truth. Fun fact, Benedict Cumberbatch read a poem dedicated to him because, well, he's related to the last Plantagenet king of England, which was Richard III.
Coming in at number 7, we have a spider attack fossil. We have had 2 turtles get caught in the middle of doing the deed, and now we have a spider who was caught in the middle of trying to prepare a meal. Come on here, guys, what's the deal? A little privacy for our late prehistoric friends, huh? Come on. Or, I mean, maybe not, because then we wouldn't actually get this video today, so sorry dinos. Anyway, recently in Myanmar, this piece of amber was found with a spider in the middle of pouncing on a juvenile wasp, when all of a sudden both of the predator and prey were engulfed in sticky tree sap. This specific species of wasp would usually feast on spider eggs, so I'm guessing this was a failed mission in that our spider friend was acting pretty fast to save her babies. Now, this specimen is believed to be around 97 to 100 million years old, dating back to the Cretaceous period. These amber fossils are rare enough as it is, let alone finding one that has 2 creatures inside eating the other one. So this is one cool find, well, you know, unless you're a wasp. Coming in at our number 6 spot, we have a giant ant fossil. 4 paleontologists, 2 being from Simon Fraser University, recently found a giant ant fossil. This ant measured 5 centimeters long, which is roughly the same size as a hummingbird. This gigantic ant fossil was actually a winged ant known as the Titanomira lube. This prehistoric insect lived in the Epoxene and is estimated to be around 50 million years old. Now, this fossil also shows how the events of global warming affected the life distribution over the last 50 million years, which is pretty freaking cool. These ants were also able to pack a pretty serious bite, so if you thought you didn't like bugs now, you would have hated them just as much as how Dewey hates bugs now. Coming in at our halfway point, we have a massive megalodon shark jaw. That's right, if you thought Jaws was big and scary, you won't want to imagine how big and scary this fish was. Not too long ago, scientists discovered a fossilized megalodon shark jaw. This was the biggest shark to have existed on Earth and one of the largest predators to have ever existed on Earth. The complete jaw of the shark took over 20 years to be reconstructed. It was so freaking big. It came in at a whopping 9 feet tall and 11 feet wide. It is also the biggest shark jaw ever assembled. This thing is quite the sight. I will say that, and honestly it's probably scarier than the movie The Meg, which came out just a couple of years ago. Heads up, it's a bit of a letdown. Coming in at number 4 spot and keeping with the shark theme, we have the Helicorprion. This is quite possibly the most bizarre and almost as scary as the megalodon shark. This shark was known for its frightening teeth because most sharks are actually cartilaginous, meaning that most of their remains fully decay away aside from their teeth. For the longest time, scientists had no idea what exactly the Helicorprion looked like and thought that they just had a giant buzzsaw shaped mouth. But further research showed that these sharks just had all of their teeth in the bottom of their jaw. Researchers back in 2013 wrote, "Continual growth of the whorl pushes the tooth root complex in a curved direction towards the front of the jaw, where it eventually spirals to form the base of the newest root material, and this process continues to form successive revolutions. At some time prior to a complete 360-degree evolution of spiral growth, tooth crowns are concealed with tessellated cartilage on the upper jaw." Pretty freaking cool, and scary to be quite honest. Like I said, thank God none of these creatures are around anymore. Or are they? We've only experienced 60% of our oceans. Just saying, I'm still on that. Starting us off in our top 3, at number 3 we have loud unexplained shakes and explosions. Literally just days ago, some loud shakes and explosions were heard in Tennessee. Around 9:50 p.m. on September 6, 2021 in Montgomery County, authorities started receiving calls of a loud explosion and earthquake-like shakes. Luckily, no one reported any injuries or property damage though, but there were enough reports that many different agencies and police went out to try and get to the bottom of these strange noises. To everyone's surprise, there was no evidence of any explosion anywhere. In addition to that, the US Geological Survey didn't register any earthquakes in the area at all. So these strange noises have gone on unidentified. Fort Campbell is however nearby, but everyone was off that day due to the long weekend. So for all of you viewers in the US and especially in Tennessee, keep your ears and eyes wide open because we gotta get to the bottom of this. And if you live anywhere near there, this is something you might just see one day.
Number 2, Layla's gene therapy. Remember what I mentioned above? A cure for cancer? Wouldn't that be the most beautiful dream realized? Cancer seems to be a foe that just keeps returning in many cruel ways, but in 2015, doctors seem to have found a light at the end of the tunnel. When 1-year-old Layla was suffering from leukemia and she wasn't responding to chemo, the parents were willing to try anything, including an experimental new treatment called gene editing. Using genetically engineered immune cells from a donor, all of the cancerous cells in her bone marrow were killed off within a month. I'm glad to report that Layla remains cancer-free to this day due to this treatment. So does this mean a new, more effective treatment is on the horizon? Yes, absolutely, but there's still more work to be done. But what is even more exciting is if this treatment is effectively harnessed, it could not only be used to treat cancer, but also HIV and many other immune disorders. Layla was the first miracle in the trials, and doctors are predicting that within the next decade, there will be an explosion in the use of this technology, as mentioned before with CRISPR and all that stuff. So it's super exciting, but here's another reason to look forward to it.
And finally, coming in at our number 1 spot, we have Big Daddy Bigfoot. People all over the world have seen large ape-like creatures walking like humans since the 1950s. These creatures have gone by many different names, from Yeti, Sasquatch, and Bigfoot, just to name a few. But what is most recently interesting about this phenomena is that the FBI actually has a file on Bigfoot that goes all the way back to 1976, meaning that they professionally and seriously looked into the fluffy man himself. Peter Byrne of the Bigfoot Information Center and Exhibition in Dallas, Oregon, turned in 2 samples of unrecognizable hair. But I will say the FBI did come back with these findings and said that the hairs were just from the deer family. Although they only said deer family, not deer. So there was no hard proof. But what gets really interesting here is that the FBI wouldn't do an analysis without an ample amount of evidence or hard evidence. Meaning, why would the FBI agree to such an investigation unless they had beliefs that it could be something that the general population shouldn't know about? I guess it was only analysis of some hairs, but even still, it spiked some interest. So if you ever have a Bigfoot sighting, get that stuff on tape and maybe we can get our answer to aliens and Bigfoot. Starting us off at number 10 is Arctic craters. In the Yamal Peninsula of Siberia, at what some people call the end of the world, many large giant craters are opening up in the ground quite frequently and alarmingly. Over the years, 17 of these massive holes have been quite literally popped up. At first glance, someone would think maybe the world was ending and you were at ground zero, but there actually is a logical explanation for these things. Below the permafrost in Siberia, water flows and begins to push up the permafrost into a large mound. These in-ground, naturally made mounds, that rhymed, can actually be found all around the world, but usually they just fall in on themselves. Oddly enough though, the ones in northwest Siberia are exploding like massive ice volcanoes and making huge craters within the ground. Scientists believe it to be from the large amount of methane gas buildup coming from underground. So while you think the world might be ending, don't worry, it actually is just random exploding ice volcanoes. See? Much better.
Number 9. Cleopatra's tomb. Where is it? Well, maybe we might find out one day, when the sands of Egypt decide to reveal her. But despite her being one of the most famous queens of Egypt, and despite centuries of interest, we still haven't found her. For over 2,000 years, the last queen of Egypt, the lover of Caesar and Mark Antony, where she lies is a mystery. Scholars and archaeologists have long since believed that Cleopatra lies in the buried city of Alexandria. Alexandria sank into the Mediterranean more than 1,000 years ago, but others say different. Kathleen Martinez is a criminal lawyer from the Dominican Republic, and she believes that everyone has been looking in the wrong places. Cleopatra took her own life by smuggling in a venomous snake, but why do something so difficult? Why not simply drink a vial of poison? Kathleen believes that the snake was a symbol to her followers that she was a goddess, therefore she must have been buried in the temple of Isis and Osiris. But which temple and where is the question.
At number 8, we have the door to hell. 50 years ago, a giant fiery crater opened up in the desert area of North Turkmenistan. The Darvaza crater, also known as the doorway to hell, was made and crazy enough is still burning to this day. Now, who actually made it? Satan himself? Demons? A group of people carrying out satanic rituals? Well, close but no cigar. This large fire crater actually erupted by a Russian natural gas drilling mishap, in which engineers set the ground on fire hoping to stop the spread of dangerous gases, cause that makes sense, and of course they didn't realize just how long that fire would burn for. So, 50 years later, the gates of hell are still going strong. When it first appeared, I'm sure it gave many around the world some kind of end of the world vibes too, but it was really just another outcome of human error. Or so we think. Coming in at number 7, we have the Skinwalker Ranch. Located in northeastern Utah in what also has been named UFO Valley, is a ranch that has gone through a couple of different owners thanks to all of the strange and mysterious events that have happened there. In June of 1996, owners Terry and Gwen Sherman told reporters that they had seen many crop circles mysteriously appear, strange paranormal things happening on the ranch, as well as some awfully odd cattle mutilations. Whatever was killing their cattle killed them in a bloodless, almost surgical way. Being extremely creeped out, the Shermans sold the ranch. Within 2 months of the story breaking, UFO enthusiast Robert Bigelow bought the property for $200 grand. And since then, many researchers and explorers have reported strange paranormal and UFO sightings in and around the ranch. With no real hard evidence though, mind you, but there were quite a few reports. The Shermans, when they still owned it, also reported a strange wolf-like creature 3 times the size of a normal wolf, and later a team of researchers even reported a large humanoid creature spying on them from a tree. So which one is the real Skinwalker, and what the hell is going on over there? No one really knows, but a lot of people are experiencing some very strange things out there, and if you are gutsy enough to ever visit northern Utah, you might see some pretty strange things yourself.
Number 6, the secret to aging. Some of you this morning might have caught a sight of a new wrinkle or perhaps a gray hair. Aging is a natural byproduct of living. It's something we want to speed up when we're younger and stop altogether when we get a little older. But what if we considered it a disease, not just a natural byproduct of our lives? CRISPR is a gene editing technology that is going to change the world. While the process itself has cost hundreds of thousands of dollars in the past, CRISPR has found a way to make it cheaper. Not only does it have the potential of changing medicine forever, more on that later, it can help correct genetic defects, treat and cure diseases, even those passed on, but the technology may also be used to improve the ones we already have. What if you could build muscle faster, or deteriorate slower, or have incredible hearing? All this is possible and more. On top of that, SENS Research Foundation is also in competition with Dr. Aubrey de Grey. De Grey is an English author, biomedical gerontologist, and mathematician who wants to cure aging altogether. One of the main causes of aging are dead cells, or senescent cells. Once the cell stops multiplying, they release a whole new stew of chemicals that cause inflammation and the breakdown of surrounding tissue. Based on this understanding and the overall technology being invested to cure aging, I wouldn't be surprised if this technology arrives sooner rather than later.
Coming in at number 5 and at our halfway point is ghosts. That's right, the old classic tale-end question, are ghosts real? Is there an afterlife? Or even a purgatory? Who knows? According to a study done back in 2009 by the Pew Research Center, 18% of Americans have claimed they have seen a ghost. To add on to that, 29% of Americans claim that they have felt in touch or felt the presence of a loved one that has passed on. Tales of ghost sightings and paranormal experiences are as old as time, and I even know a few people myself who have claimed to see a ghost. I even myself have had a few ghostly encounters, but I cannot claim any of them to be fully true. I just know that they were creepy as hell in the moment. Then also, I haven't seen a ghost, but you know, who knows, maybe one day. But I want to hear from all of you down in the comments. Have you ever had a ghostly experience? And if you have any real ghostly problems, who are you gonna call? Well, probably me, because sadly the Ghostbusters aren't real.
Number 4. Humans to Mars. July 20th, 1969, every household and their neighbors were crouched around tiny TVs to watch the biggest step mankind had ever taken. By 2024, we will put boots on the moon once again, but can you guess what's next? Obviously you can, I just said it. Humankind will head to Mars to finally meet the Martians. NASA's InSight mission is currently on Mars in order to measure what life will be like over there. It is also there to test out the use of solar panels as an effective form of power. With our next trip to the moon, NASA will also be testing out revolutionary new life support systems. If all goes well and astronauts are able to survive a year on the moon, then the next big leap will be to Mars. They plan on sending a manned craft by the 2030s to uncover the mysteries of the red planet. It has a past similar to our own and at one point was able to support life, so what happened? There are plenty of new discoveries just around the corner, and I suspect there will be more questions than answers, but how exciting is that? Would you volunteer to go to Mars? Let us know in the comments. Number 3. How and why Stonehenge was built. Stonehenge is one of the largest gaps in history and has erupted theories of aliens, magic, and mystery galore. Who moved these massive stones 25 kilometers south from Westwood, Wiltshire, England to Salisbury, and how the heck did they do it? 92 stones make up Stonehenge, all ranging in size, some weighing even 50,000 pounds. Next question, why? Well, in the next decade we may know the answer. Archaeologists in 2018 discovered that at least 2 of the stones were already there before humans even occupied Earth. But when we did arrive, we noticed that the orientation of the stones to the rising and setting of the sun may have inspired the construction. Next is who? The stones have been featured in tales of Merlin and other Arthurian legends, but what's the true story? New DNA research suggests that the stones were built by the descendants of migrants from what is known as modern-day Turkey from around 6,000 years ago. The mystery still stands, but as we continue to whittle away at the who's and why's, I'm sure one day we will have the truth for the very first time.
At number 2, we have the oldest material on Earth, which happens to actually be older than Earth itself. Now, how does that work? Well, billions of years before our sun even existed, a dying star flung some of its dust into space. This piece of dead stardust collided into Earth in a small meteorite. It has been named the oldest material on Earth, mainly because it's not even from Earth. Back in September of 1969, the Murchison meteorite, which lit up the skies in Australia, came crashing into our Earth's surface. Analysis of these cooled down rocks showed that there were traces of the stardust that aged back to 4.6 to 7 billion years ago. Scientists believe that only 5% of Earth meteorites contain these mecha ancient materials, but that hasn't stopped them from hunting for more. Who knows? What other answers could we learn by finding more of these ancient space materials? Well, that brings us to our number 1 spot.
Coming in at number 1, we have alien encounters. Ooh, maybe. Where the heck is everybody is a question scientists have been launching out into the universe since they figured out how to. We know the universe is massive, but what is the likelihood that there are planets with intelligent life like us out there? Answer, pretty damn high. So why haven't we heard anything? For every grain of sand on the planet, there are at least 100 planets that are capable of supporting biological life. The Fermi paradox created by Italian-American physicist Enrico Fermi highlights the contradiction that despite there being a high probability of extraterrestrial life, there is no evidence that there is. Could it be that messages have been sent out but they're taking too long to reach us because they are that far away? Are we too far away? Either way, whether in our lifetime or our children's lifetime, we still might find out. It's not a case of if, it is when. It could be any day now. Any day now.
Starting us off at number 10, we have a fossil of mating turtles. We all know I picked this one because of my love for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but just let it be known that these turtles were just normal. They were specifically sea turtles, and that is okay, I mean I guess. But not too long ago, these 2 fossilized turtles were found in what appeared to be in the middle of a bow chicka wow wow sesh. The 47 million year old turtle couple were found by German researchers excavating the Messel pit, which is an infamous dig site. These researchers believe that these 2 turtles were in the middle of doing the deed and then experienced carbon dioxide poisoning after sinking deeper into the lake and entering a deposit of deadly gas. I'm just gonna say it, this one sucks. I mean, not only were these 2 caught in the act, but they were also fossilized in the middle of the act for all of eternity. As Crush from Finding Nemo might just say, get a room next time. Haha, totally. Coming in at our number 9 spot, we have a devil frog. Discovered in the land down in Madagascar, researchers discovered a beach ball sized frog that they named the devil frog, or more scientifically known as the Beelzebufu empinga. This enormous fossil weighed in at 4.5 kilograms, which is 10 pounds, and measured in at 41 centimeters. It was known to have a strong enough bite to actually capture and eat smaller dinosaurs. They had these massive gaping jaws that were much stronger than the modern day frogs we all know and love today. Their bite force was equivalent to the modern day wolves and tigers. That makes this amphibian one of the most deadly and lethal amphibians of all time. For those of you that enjoy catching frogs, I'm not sure if this is the one that you want to be messing around with, so if you are going to go more frog hunting for some of these devil frogs, I would suggest a bigger net. Coming in at our number 8 spot, we have a nest of baby dinosaurs. Back in 2011, David Fasovsky, who is a paleontologist from the University of Rhode Island, discovered a nest of 15 baby dinosaurs out in Mongolia. These infant dinos were then identified as Protoceratops andrewsi dinosaur species, which were sheep-sized herbivores that were usually the prey of velociraptors. These are one of those dinosaurs that I would actually love to see come back to life. I mean, they weren't that big, they ate plants, and they seemed pretty friendly overall. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little biased here because in my Ninja Turtle comics that I read, Raphael actually has a pet dinosaur that looks a lot like this species, and he calls her Pepperoni, and I think it's really, really cute, and I want my own Pepperoni now. So, if anyone out there could get to work on that friendly herbivore at Jurassic Park, then that would, as the meme goes, that would be great.
Number 7, the money pit on Oak Island. If this actually happens, I think my dad would be so excited because he and I always watch that show together when I'm home. I for one hope they do actually find the money pit because being able to see those people so happy would be just like outstanding. For those of you who have not gotten caught up on that show, let me enlighten you. Rick and Marty are 2 men attempting to unravel a 223-year-old mystery that even Franklin Roosevelt tried to solve. Beneath a small island in Nova Scotia, there is said to be a treasure trove of immense value, but it is not just as simple as digging until you strike a chest. Beneath the mud, there is a complex structure that, if damaged, could destroy what's ever inside it. So far, the attempt to uncover it has claimed the lives of 6 men, and there may be more. It's a really interesting show, and they, along with their team, have the closest chance to ever uncovering this treasure, so we'll see if it ever happens, but I think it will. I have faith.
At number 6, we have Lake Hillier. Australia's Lake Hillier is one of the most talked about lakes in the world. Why? Because this massive lake is actually a bright pink in color. It sits right next to the Pacific Ocean, which makes its bright pink color intensely different from the dark and light blue ocean that it's right next to. It might be a little weird, but there are plenty of fish swimming around in the pink waters, and it is safe to swim in, so go ahead and get pink. The reason for the color of the lake is still a mystery though. Many believe that the color is actually just a chemical reaction or just some type of algae or bacteria bacteria, but who knows? I honestly don't even care. I just want to go there and get a look at this thing and probably go for a swim.
Number 5. The Somerton Man. The mystery of the Somerton Man has plagued investigators for decades, but the case may be solved this year. In the early morning one summer day in 1948 on Somerton Beach in Adelaide, Australia, a well-dressed man was spotted on the beach. He was reclining in the sand, dressed in a fine suit and dress shoes, appeared to be middle-aged and was trying to light a cigarette. He also appeared a little bit like he had too much to drink. The next day he was seen again, but this time he was dead from an unknown cause. He had no identification and there weren't even labels on the clothing as to where he got them. On top of that, no one came forward to claim him, so he remained the John Doe of Somerton Beach. The only clue they ever got was a roll of scrap paper found in his pocket that says, and I might butcher the pronunciation, I apologize, Tamam Shud. The Persian script translated forebodingly to, "It is ended." That too led nowhere, but now thanks to DNA evidence, investigators have found that he may have been from the east coast of the USA. So now there is hope that they may be able to track down his identity or his relatives after over 50 years without answers.
Coming in at number 4, way above us, is Mars. Not only the red planet, but the humming planet too. Back in November of 2018, a tiny Earth spacecraft landed on the ground on Mars. It was called the InSight Lander, and this robotic geologist recently beamed back some of its Mars findings back to Earth. It recorded a long continuous Martian hum while on the red planet. It seems to pulse to the beat of something known as Mars quakes that rattle the planet as well. But the constant hum's real origin is still a mystery. Earth has many natural sounds and hums as well, but the hum on Mars is at a much higher pitch. Maybe the geology underneath the InSight Lander amplifies a specific tone, but as of right now, scientists are extremely puzzled. If you ask me, it's just from an alien radio station. I mean, what do you think? They're not listening to some awesome tunes up there too? I mean, come on, get out of here. Starting us off in our top 3, at number 3, we have trilobites. This one, funny enough, holds a pretty special place in my heart because my dad gave me an amazing fossil of a trilobite when I was younger. My dad got it from his dad, who found it in an old gravel and rock pit that he was working in. So it's a nice little find that has been passed down in the family, and I think I'm going to keep up that tradition. But the real discovery here is a trilobite orgy that some lucky scientist found. These creepy crawly creatures were known to basically have orgies and mate in groups back in the day. They even got naked before the event because they would shed their tough exoskeleton to expose their soft flesh underneath. So I guess the one my grandpa found wasn't in the middle of one of these mating sessions, which is probably good because it makes the story a little less wholesome, but maybe the other guys he was working with all just kept one for themselves, and you know what, I don't want to know. I don't. Coming in at our number 2 spot, cue the music, we have a mosquito in amber. Does anyone know what I'm getting to here? Yeah, I'm not talking about the one from the Jurassic Park movie, I'm talking about a real one. So look, maybe I will get my giant herbivore at Jurassic Park after all. I mean, back in 2013, a real blood-filled mosquito trapped in amber was found in a forgotten basement where it remained for 30 years. Now, I know what you're thinking, the original fossil was not found in this basement, it was found in Montana. But the original weight of this discovery wasn't known until much later. Although I hate to burst my bubble because as I read on in this article as I was writing this, it reported that it is not known what kind of blood the mosquito had ingested, and it is impossible to actually see any more DNA because DNA cannot last that long. Meaning the possibility of a real-life Jurassic Park is more fiction than fact. And that really sucks to hear, so scientists, if you are watching, please bring Dewey a friendly Jurassic Park, I beg of you. And finally, coming in at our number 1 spot one last time is another really funny one because I am just so freaking mature. We have the world's first penis fossil. That's right, you heard me correctly, a penis fossil. This tiny fossil came from an ancient crustacean known as an ostracod. These animals actually had huge sperm in comparison to the size of their bodies, the largest of any known species actually. But Professor David Siviter, a researcher at the University of Leicester, said that these animals didn't only have 1 but 2 penises. So this 100 million year old fossil is quite undeniably one of the most mysterious and weirdest fossils that has ever been found. Sorry little guy, you have been put on display for the rest of your eternity. Or should I say little guys. There you have it, Bumblebees. That has been our top 10 mysterious fossils you might see for the first time in your life. What did you think? Which one was your favorite and which one just straight up made you question what in the world was going on back then when the dinos roamed the earth? Sounds like a lot of mating, but I guess what else was there to do anyway?